Welcome to Angle Guides. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your support. Let me just copy this link really quick and put it into the chat and make sure that that's working so I can see where I'm broadcasting to. This is the link that has my link tree that has all of my socials and where you can find me, how to book a reading with PayPal, all of that sort of stuff in there. This is okay, it looks like we're going to YouTube and Facebook. If you're seeing this, this is the monthly Taroscope for the sign of Gemini for the month of April of 2021. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Gemini, you might want to watch this. If you have heavily placed planets in the sign of Gemini, like 3 or more placed planets in the sign of Gemini, you may want to watch this also, because this could affect your April. It is a broad spectrum reading, so I speak in broad terms. You're going to have to figure out where it best fits in your life and how to best apply it. Always when making, any decisions in your life after having watched any of my videos, know that your decisions are 100% your responsibility. Never take anything that I say over that of a professional in their field, i.e. a doctor, lawyer, or therapist. Always listen to them first and foremost. And, hopefully this reading gives you support and validation on things that, you might not be aware of or be aware of and that you're about to experience in the month of April. So for the guide card or the signifier card, which will be here, I decided to use the Spirit Messages Oracle from John Holland. I think it was just sort of the, the idea of spirit and then the air signs kind of blending with spirit sounded really nice. So you guys are going to get your signifier card from that deck this month. The signifier card is usually, it can sometimes indicate the theme for the month or something to reflect upon throughout the month, something to ground in. It can just give us insight into what's sort of going on overall throughout the month. So that's kind of why we look at this card. It's just sort of like a guide for us, our tour guide, so to speak, for the month of April. So let's get into this and see what's going on. Okay, so you guys get receive. Really beautiful card. I love the purple color. You are a kind and loving soul who constantly reaches out and gives to others, but now it's time for you to learn how to graciously receive. Just as with the ebb and flow of the tides, the art of giving and receiving is the natural law and order of the universe. When I look at this, I love this package and how it's sort of wrapped in gold, and there's a little gold light at this gentleman's sort of shoulder, and I think this is a little red butterfly up here in the corner. I'm not sure, but to me, I feel like my Geminis might be a little bit tired. This guy looks a little exasperated to me, not in a bad way. It's just have my Geminis given so much that they've given too much, maybe. And maybe they're at a place where they are feeling a little bit tired, a little bit weary, a little bit overdone. And so maybe now April's a month to sort of be in this idea of reception or receiving, where you allow things to be given back to you and for gifts to be given to you that you've maybe been giving up freely up until this point. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind. This purple I always associate with the color with royalty. So allow yourself to be treated kindly this month by others and those around you. Also, the gold color goes nicely with it too, that gold in the background. So purple and gold definitely give me this idea of royalty, being honored or noticed for who we are and what we do, and accepting that notice wholeheartedly. And not questioning it. Does that make sense? So allow others to honor you, receive that honor in whatever way, shape, or form that it takes, and do that gracefully, which you guys will. All right, so let's see. This first card is the center, where you're centered at this month. Tells me, it indicates a little bit about sort of where you're at. For this month, you'll go in and out of this card throughout the month. It also gives me insight into what you could potentially be creating for the future. So this card is the King of Swords. I will totally take this. This is perfect Geminian energy. This is Swords energy, which is air sign element. The King of Swords would be the ultimate of, analytical, honest, thought, clear thinking, behavior, right? So we're in charge, we are centered, we should be in control, we should be analytical throughout the entirety of this month. We should feel empowered, I feel. This also, I like that there's this king, and I was talking about the royalty aspect of the purple in this color and being acknowledged for who we are and what we do. Ideally, with this King of Swords in the center, it does speak to that too. We should be able to find ourselves in situations where we can excel, where we can make clear decisions, where we can bring about clarity, honesty, maybe even change to a situation or balance to a situation. So just know that April, even though if you maybe feel a bit tired, you should be in your element and be appreciated for that. Now, the next card is the foundation card. This tells me a little bit about sort of what went on in the past that opened the door for everything to be the way that it is today. This card also can indicate sort of what's holding everything in the present or pushing everything into the future, like sort of what beliefs or reminders are holding us in place. Okay, so this is the Tower. This is Major Arcana. This is talking about major upheaval of some sort that was happening somewhere in the past. And because of this upheaval, it's put us into this state where I think that we've worked hard to get back to where we are. That's why we see this King of Swords. We've righted sort of the wrongs, but at some point the rug was pulled out from under us. Plans were put on hold. Things stopped unexpectedly. Usually the Tower would indicate sort of an unpleasant experience that was unexpected, not foreseen, and quite challenging at a very grand scale. Now, remember, this is in the past, right? So what I do want to say is normally I wouldn't like this card in the foundation position. It would be a kind of a little bit of a sketchy card to be in the foundation position. But ultimately, Tower experiences are for disassembling things that are on faulty foundations and reassembling something in their place that's much more solid. And I think with that King of Swords in the center, it says to me that my Geminis are already en route to something more solid that makes more sense to them. The pain of the past, right? Whatever this Tower moment was for each one of you, and it might have been something different for each one of you, it might still linger a little bit, but with that King of Swords in the center there, you're not going to allow it to get out of control. I don't necessarily feel like you're going to allow it to lead you. If you choose to allow it to lead you, hold on one second. If you choose it to allow it to lead you, let me get you a chew toy, buddy. You're not supposed to chew on that. Chew on this. Chew on that. If you choose it to allow it to lead you, you're going to choose it in a way that is leading you away from making the same mistakes. Does that make sense? Right? Like, in essence, we don't want to go back to that Tower moment. Sorry, one second, guys. You're not supposed to do this. This is not okay. When you poop in the house like this, it's not okay. You know that, right? This is like bad dog behavior. You're a puppy, I'll let you get away with it. Just this once, because Daddy's busy. All right, so what I mean by that is, sorry, I had the dog made a mess in the hallway. All right, so what I mean by that is that with this the intelligence of this King of Swords is your center, and this Tower is the reminder. It reminds us of where we don't want to be or what we don't want to recreate through further mistakes, and that's why we have this King of Swords in our center, is we're thinking clearly, analytically, less emotionally. Yes, there might be some memories of times where things were overturned and not in our favor, but we understand with the clarity of that King of Swords as to why. And we start to also get into the state of reception, of realizing how much we've given to certain situations, even to Tower situations where we might have felt like everything was falling apart or we couldn't save it. We attempted to and tried, and now it's our turn to kind of allow good things in. Right? We've also learned from this past, I feel like, with this Tower card. I feel like it's too strong of a card for us not to have learned. And the King of Swords is far too of an intelligent card in the center to let me think that my Geminis are not paying attention. Does that make sense? All right, so let's go to the Spirit or Soul card. This is the higher self, what it wants you to look at and reflect upon during the month of April. Okay. So this is the Queen of Wands. This is your complementary energy of fire, which I think is beautiful. And I love that we have the King of Swords with the Queen of Wands, kind of as your sort of operating capacity for April. I really love that. The Queen of Wands would indicate sort of that fiery aspect of desire and action. This being in the spirit space, it sort of tells me that our spirit really wants us to turn ourselves on this month, really wants us to be in that place. The Queen would also represent sort of the receptivity that we see here about being honored and acknowledged, right? For the creative, what's the word I'm looking for? Like how capable we are, right? And when we see this queen and this king, we should be aware of that capability. We should be aware of what skills we bring to the table, right? The queen would represent I love that she's in the spirit space because the wands is the element of fire and the spirit. So that's very much in line and complementary to one another. She's also very intuitive, receptive, emotional. She balances out the analytical nature of that king of swords, right? And both of these are about not only the mental being clean and clear, but also sort of the spiritual being clean and ready to go as far as getting ready to maybe create, take action, honor oneself and nurture oneself in that way. And that's also this, we see that in this reception card here. There's an abundance with the Queen of Wands. There's a passion with the Queen of Wands that shouldn't be denied, that shouldn't be passed over. We also need to understand that there's Geminis with this Queen of Wands in our spirit space. We might have an extra special connection this month of April to our higher selves or our guides, because the Queen of Wands can represent that. She always, that black kitten there represents sort of that connection to the other side. So tap into that too this month while you can, or if you can, if you find time to do that, and receive from that end of things too, because these are messages from spirit in this card. So, and if they're saying receive, allow those messages to come into you and then create from there or nurture those messages into something more. The strength and the intelligence of the King of Swords will guide you in a sort of a practical, no-nonsense manner that will get you there. The Queen of Wands will show you the steps to intuitively take, the action to take. All right, so I really like that. Those are two beautiful cards. Even with that tower in the bottom, I'm not bothered at all with it. It says that we've learned our lesson and we're moving on. Now, the next two cards are the outside influences. These cards tell me a little bit about what could be affecting you, either positively or negatively, during the month of April. These can be people, sometimes events, sometimes things more vague like belief systems or energies that are having an effect on you. So one is justice. So this is major arcana. This is actually a pretty big card, I would say. To me, hold on one second, the dog's taking my shoe. To me, this is the sign of Libra. So this is air also, which I think is very much in line and should be in line with you. It should benefit you ultimately in the end because it is Libran energy. A truth usually comes out with the Justice card. This could be for some of you that are dealing with maybe struggles, fights, arguments, issues that need to be sorted. Justice could very well be that sorting that comes about this month. Be ready to receive whatever gifts justice gives you. They could be hard won though. Keep that in mind too. But justice is just that. She's like going to be fair and just in the end, and the truth will come out or come clean. I don't think that the truth is something you need to worry about, if that makes any sense, because that King of Swords and that Queen of Wands both feel very clean and pure and powerful in their own right. So whatever you've been doing or whatever situations you've been involved in where there needs to be some sort of clarity or cleaning up, the cleaning up is going to be on somebody else's aisle, so to speak, not yours, is my feeling. Even with that, the messiness of that tower in the foundation, this is not something that I kind of want to say it doesn't feel like it's something that my Geminis have created. It's not necessarily all about laying blame elsewhere either. I don't feel like that's your point. Your point is, or at least with this Justice card, is that finally sort of the truth reigns supreme. Like the cat's out of the bag, no pun intended, even though we're looking at a cat tarot deck. We are able to be seen, heard, understood more clearly. You know, that would be also what this Justice card would represent. And things should wrap up in our favor in a very big and abundant way. Let's look at the other card. So this is the Seven of Cups. So Seven of Cups would be water. That doesn't matter here nor there. That would be more about the realm of emotions. The Seven of Cups usually indicates sort of one too many choices on hand. There might be situations that bring about emotional choices that need to be made that could be hard. The Justice card says to me, and that analytical nature of the King of Swords says to me that whatever emotional choices you might be faced with that could be confusing or potentially challenging, don't worry, you'll be able to manage them, or at least be clear with them. That's the Justice card too, is these two cards could be tied together for some of you, right? There might be some sort of emotional push-pull button pushing situation that you're dealing with, you know, in your home life or your work or whatever that you need to deal with. And to do so, you have to remain sort of middle of the road, analytical, not get caught up in the emotions and the confusion of all of that, or the confusion of others, and allow sort of the truth to prevail. And that would be the Justice card there. Allow yourself to receive that truth and to free yourself away from this too. This Tower driving down in the bottom too could be that, you know, this could be from the past, but this Justice card could also indicate that we're finally being released from something that we've been dealing with for a long time for some of my Geminis. Right? That Tower, even though the worst of it is gone, we may still be somehow tied to whatever that was from the past. Justice sort of makes me feel like maybe we're actually able to break free of it, or at least learn something about it in such a way that we're able to see it more clearly and not be so confused by it. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, there's been this squirrel all day today. I've been filming today and he keeps running along the fence and looking in the window at me. It's really weird. All right, he just did it again, and he had a nut in his mouth and he just stared at me twice. So it's like staring at me right in the eye. All right, so the next card is the potential outcomes card. This card tells me a bit about sort of where this could all end up for the Geminis, barring that nothing major changes. Now, if this card is negative, we can take this as a warning to make choices and changes to affect the outcome, so that it's we can, you know, have a different outcome. But if it's something good that we want to have come to pass, we can take heart in the fact that it's naturally heading towards this, and we don't have to do much to change it. So let's see what this is. Oh God, weird. All right, so we have the Devil card. Devil's a sign of Capricorn, which would be earth energy. It is major arcana. With that Tower in the foundation, the Justice as the outside influence. I'm not feeling good about this outcome, guys. I'm just going to be honest. Something is going on. Hold on, let me look at this for a minute. With that Seven of Cups over there, I feel like something is going on for my Geminis, and it's not you guys. The Queen of Wands and the King of Swords speak to you sort of remaining true to what you know to be right. And that Justice card should come in and show you why you're right, where you're right, why it is right. That doesn't necessarily mean that the sort of the fuckery discontinues. Does that make sense? Especially with this Devil card as the outcome. Now, the Devil is going to always show us where we're at our weakest or where our Achilles heel is. If we have something where we're letting somebody push our buttons, or somebody's bad behavior is getting under our skin and we're not saying something about it, the Devil's going to show us that or create that sort of drama for us. Usually the Devil's something that we tend to be in bondage to. The Devil can manifest in things like, you know, overeating, procrastination, slothiness, you know, our own self-doubt. All of those sort of things to me represent as the Devil card. They're all sort of challenges that we have to face, that we sometimes usually try to avoid. I feel like at some point we may have to face something by the end of the month that we're trying to avoid, and that's why that Seven of Cups is there, is that we're maybe making excuses for others and their behavior or their treatment of us. We're trying to overlook it. We're trying to hope that it will change or it will get better. And it may not actually get better. It could potentially get worse if we don't sort of address it with the power of that Justice card. If we don't sort of draw our limits, draw our boundaries, get really clear on who we are and what we are, if we continue to give to a situation that's no longer giving to us and not receive sort of the message that we're getting here from that King of Swords and that Queen of Wands, and also that Justice card, we could end up sort of still struggling within a situation that we kind of can be beyond, is the feeling that I get. We can be free of it if we enable ourselves to do so, if we believe in ourselves enough to no longer maybe entertain that situation. I hope that makes sense, guys. Now, like I said, the outcome card is not set in stone, so it doesn't necessarily have to happen this way, but it's sort of like where things are headed. And so it makes me think that quite possibly that Seven of Cups might be a bit more emotional. This could be connected to somebody or something that's more emotionally connected to us than I previously thought, right? And also the disruption of the Tower at the bottom of all of this, the foundation of all of this, we may not still be okay with letting this fully go. There could be still some of that lingering, even though we know it's already a bad situation, or it's already been a little bit of upheaval or a lot of upheaval in the past. We're still having trouble of letting it go. And in doing that, if we don't listen and we don't allow this sort of justice to come in and prevail and show us the truth and then act from that truth, we could end up dealing with this sort of the delusion that the devil presents at the end of the month. All right. I'm going to leave that with you guys. I hope that gives you guys, it makes sense. Again, if this isn't your reading, it may not be for you. There's so many different things that affect these astrological tarotscopes. There could be degrees of your house, what house your sign is in, how many degrees it's in that house. All of that sort of stuff affects these cards. So this is just an overview of what the majority of the Geminis will be facing or dealing with. Remember to be in this state of reception. Remember to give to yourself. Don't necessarily give to others. This devil card would indicate us giving to something that's long gone, right? Or that needs to be long gone, that's no longer serving us. And so becoming aware of that and not doing that would free us from this devil outcome, certainly. That is your forecast for the month. Please tune in next month. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you guys next month. You can always join me here daily for the daily forecast, and have a great day. All right, take care. Bye-bye.